Are you gonna be calling me out?
Yes,
Why?
because I can.
You should cut that part out too.
Food for thought.
Mm.
Okay.
The group of
My
five.
answer is way better than this.
Well, then enlighten us, mystic.
Hello, hello.
Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata.
Okay.
How do you watch your movies?
With
How
my
do you
own,
write?
with my eyes.
It's all for the eyes, isn't it? Food for thought.
Mm.
Okay. Sorry, what were we talking about?
This episode is so good.
Are we ever completing this episode?
Yes.
What time is it?
You only believe in something that you don't know.
Cha-ching!
Oh, we cannot start this episode.
See,
Okay.
I took it out of you.
Yeah, I feel like cut. I'm being a monkey. Cut again.
Hello, hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to episode 8 of In Conversations with R&B. I'm Rabrit.
I'm Bruno.
And we're on our segment 3, episode 8.
Which episode is this one? I forgot. No, I'm just kidding.
Mufasa.
We're talking about Mufasa? Oh, yes. We are talking about Mufasa. I got my notes here, guys. On my phone this time. I don't have my iPad. Did you guys watch the movie, though? If you haven't, there will be some spoiler alerts, just so you know. And yeah. I mean, Lion King is a classic. What do you guys think about doing live action? I thought it was good. I mean, I really enjoy the live action movies that Disney is coming up with.
Live action's always better than
the animations?
Nah.
Nah, depending on the
Depends
animation,
on the
I
movie.
think. The next episode, though, it's a good one too. The live action was really, really good because you haven't watched the animation for that one, but you watched the live action, which is nice. Stay tuned and you find out which episode are we. I mean, which movie we're going to be talking about on the next episode.
Talking about episodes, did you watch episode 7 yet?
This little bugger here. Huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if we're talking about Mufasa, we're talking about the legacy of Mufasa. Because in The Lion King, he is the king, and then Simba becomes the king after. And then we see that Scar is his brother, and he's the one that kills. No, I'm talking in the Lion King movie. I'm talking in the Lion King movie. She's already upset with me because I'm saying Scar, and I'm like spoiling already on the Mufasa movie. Because on the Mufasa movie, the name is not Scar, and you find out what's the name of it. But what I was getting to it is on the Lion King, the one where Simba becomes the king, we have Mufasa there, and we have a little bit of the story background where Scar is jealous of Mufasa because he was supposed to be the king. And he doesn't like that, and he wants to be king. So in the end, he kills his brother. And that was a big betrayal there, right? And then Simba leaves the kingdom.
So we're just spoiling the movie like right off
The
the bat
Lion King.
before we get into the episode.
The Lion King. I'm talking about the Lion King. I'm not talking about the Mufasa movie, right?
Okay.
So I was just getting into it, like, so you guys kind of like remember what was the story background of the Lion King. Now, when it comes to Mufasa, it's interesting because at the beginning of the movie, we kind of like see that Mufasa begins the movie itself a little. You have a little bit of background there where you see Mufasa's dad and mom and everything, but right at the start of the bat, he just becomes an orphan, just like Simba was kind of an orphan when he sees his dad dying and then he leaves. So you kind of see a repeat of the story.
Well, it's always a repetition of story.
Yeah.
There's no original story.
Yeah.
It's all the same story.
So my question to you is, what do you think? How do you think that that early loss that Mufasa goes through shapes his character in the movie?
I want to belong.
He wants to belong, yes.
Well, before we even get into that,
Mm.
the movie. Ask me the question again, but it's given such a big spiel on it. I need to give a little bit. The movie begins, and we know that it's Rafiki telling the story of Mufasa
Yes.
to Kiara, who's the granddaughter.
Yes.
Okay, so while the storytellers are also Timon and Pumbaa,
Mm-hmm.
because
Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata, but it's also Rafiki because he is part of that story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the life begins, the movie begins, and it says, Kings of the past will be your guide. So we already know that it is, even if we don't see it from the perspective of Kiara, we know that it is story of an elder, story of an ancestor, because Kings of the past will be your guide is a shadow towards, like, yeah, elders are the ones who teach us how to do it.
Yes. It was the same for Simba too when he was growing up.
Yeah. So going back to episode 7, listen to your elders. They've walked life before you have. They know, they might not know the same things as you do, but they also have a little bit more experience, and then you can take their experience, learn from it, and then shape your own path.
But I don't think that every single person that is older, just because they're older, they're wise.
No.
Yeah.
My grandpa is super wise, so I don't know what he's talking about. He's the coolest of them. Anyways, question number 1.
Can I ask you that
Can you?
question?
Oh my god, what is wrong with
May
you?
I? May I ask you the question? Ow. Okay, you can cut that too.
Sometimes you scratch yourself like a monkey, other times you're going in your ear. What the fuck? And now you're making me swear on camera. Like, what the fuck?
We can cut that out.
Obviously.
Okay.
So, question number 1. Go ahead.
Okay, so as I was saying before.
What were you saying before?
Yes. I asked you the question before, remember?
You never asked me questions, but sure.
So, Mufasa begins his life on the movie as an orphan. Correct?
Correct.
So, how do you think that early loss that he faces because he loses his parents, how do you think that shapes his character?
Well, early on, he's not. It's not right in the beginning of the movie that he loses
Well,
them.
but I mean, it's right there, pretty much like the story pretty much starts when he loses his parents.
Yeah, but it is also important to know that they were once alive, and
Yes.
it was his parents that made him believe in the
Milele.
haven. Yeah, Milele. And had they never made him believe that Milele existed, he would have never gone and seeked it out.
Yeah, that's true.
So story does not begin.
No, but his life story pretty much begins. No?
No.
Okay.
How do you watch your movies?
With
How
my
do you
own,
write?
with my eyes.
It's all for the eyes, isn't it?
Okay, let me rephrase the question to you then. Can I do that?
Yes.
All right. May I do that?
Oh my goodness. We're teaching him English these days. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Let me go back to the question. Another take. Okay. So,
Question number one. Question number one. Go ahead.
so in Mufasa's story, when he loses his parents, how do you think that that loss shapes his personality?
Oh, there is that search for belonging, right?
Mm.
Like, yes, wait. Before he even begins to have that personality, you see him go through the Great Flood. And when he's going through the Great Flood, it's he is still learning how to take up that personality.
Mm-hmm.
Because like how I like to watch movies is very different than the way that you like to watch movies.
Can you care to explain?
I look at the movie from the beginning of it until the end of it. So his personality is constantly changing through and through because right after he loses his parents, and again he loses his parents in the Great Flood. Great Flood being the representation of that immediate ruckus that happens inside of you when you encounter something that was least unexpected,
Mm.
right? Like all the creation stories have that big flood, right? That's the cleansing of it, that's the new beginning of it. So it is the new beginning of Mufasa's journey because he's gone through that big flood, and because he went through that big flood, he's flown away with the river, he gets saved, and in the moment of being saved too, it's
It's
up and down.
okay.
Like first of all comes the survival, and then after that survival, after he's saved, after he's taken in care of Taka and Taka's mom, who's Eshe, he learns that okay, while I don't have my family, I have to prove something to myself.
Mm.
What is it that you're proving to yourself?
Mm-hmm.
That is how helps shape his personality type.
Okay.
Right? So when you're at that like he's not in competition with anybody but himself. And I think that's just how life should be. If you're not in competition with yourself, then who are you really competing with? Because everybody is in a different race. Yes, our destination is the same.
Which is?
The heavens.
I
Sorry.
thought you would say death, but okay.
Death is not the ending.
Is it not?
Not the egoic death.
Mm.
Carl Jung.
Okay.
Well, death of a physical body is not just death, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm.
And if you're a Hindu, you will just reincarnate.
And if you're not a Hindu?
And then you figure out what your religious texts are saying.
So you would believe on the religious texts. Is that what you're
It's a
saying?
great theory.
Oh, so then every heaven is different?
Yes.
Yeah.
Heaven and hell are on the same plane, man.
Okay, so when I ask you about Mufasa's character being shaped by early laws, uh, I can see that, for example, remember when we were talking, I don't remember which episode we just spoke about, like post traumatic growth? Remember that?
Episode 6.
Was it episode 6? Yeah.
Predestination.
Predestination. Oh yeah, that's true. See, you're good at this. So like it's the same idea that goes with Mufasa too. So he goes through that post traumatic uh, growth where he transforms pain into purpose, right? His pain of losing his parents, and then becomes his purpose of finding Milele, because that was uh, that was the last thing that he could, I guess, do to be with his parents. And I think somehow he believed that once he found Milele, he would find his parents there too.
And
You
he
know, he
does.
had, yeah,
He finds mom.
he finds his mom, and he sees that his dad is no longer with them too. And it's funny, right? It's always like the dad that dies in the
Movies.
yeah, in the movie of like the Lion King, for example. It's Mufasa, and then his dad dies too.
Because kings were always supposed to be males. And kings are the sacrifice.
So kings are supposed to be dying all the time, and then the queens are the ones that survive. Okay, I don't want to be king.
We have a king in our
Yeah.
midst, and it's not the two of us.
So he was trying to find his own purpose in life.
Aren't we all?
Yes, we are.
There you go.
And it's interesting because like people that goes through early loss like that of a parent or of a sibling, of a caregiver, sometimes that pain can be transformed into vulnerability or great resilience into the child.
But that's the thing, with vulnerability comes courage. That is why Mufasa is so courageous. Brene Brown, she talks about it all the time. If you're
Yeah.
not vulnerable, courage is never going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you ready to let people see that part of you that you think makes you look weak?
Mm-hmm.
There's no weakness. There's no weakness in owning up with what you're dealing with, how you're dealing with, because that's just life.
Yeah.
We all go through something or the other. And when we are going through something or the other, that is when we realize that, okay, I have to sit with it. Like
Yeah.
there's this quote. It says, I sat with my anger long enough to realize that it was grief.
Where's that from?
I don't know, but somewhere. Read it. I got great memory.
Mm.
Humble brag. um, but point being, like, you sit with every feeling, you sit with every emotion to find the root cause of it. And sooner or later, you will figure it out. Where is it coming from? And why is it coming? Because until and unless you do not sit with that said emotion, you're never going to figure out what caused it. And if you don't know what caused it, then you're in the loop. Do you want to break out of the loop, or do you want to suffer in the loop? It's like, do you want to surrender to change, or do you want to suffer in a loop?
Mm-hmm. Hmm. What do you think is best
Surrender.
in breaking out of the loop?
Always.
Yeah.
When you're in a loop, you're not just in the loop. You're starting from that point, and you're getting at that point before you reach where you need to go, and you're right there. And the thing is, even when you think that you're looping, you're going round and around and around, and then you're maybe dipping down. And do you want to dip down?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want to rise up? And again, yes, life is up and down. You're going to dip down and you're going to go up. But like, how much of a rock bottom are you seeking? You're going to get the same answer up or below. But like, once you get to that answer, do you really just want to stay there? There has to be a point when you're like, oh, okay, I think I feel the invisible surface now, and I think it's time to go up.
Yeah.
Ask. He's just looking at my face like, wow, such a good answer. I know. That is why we're doing this.
Do you want to ask me a question?
No, you ask. I'll ask at the end of it.
All right. So when Mufasa faces setbacks, like Taka's betrayal, for example, how does he demonstrate strategies of adaptive and maladaptive coping?
Okay.
So, to explain to the viewers there, as you asked, what are adaptive coping strategies and what are maladaptive coping strategies? In a simple answer, adaptive coping strategies are the strategies that you use to cope with something that is easy at that moment, but is also easy in the long run. So there's a problem, you try to tackle and solve that problem right at that moment, and then you try to solve it the easiest way possible. But the easiest way that you try to solve that problem, it also makes it easier on the long run. A maladaptive coping strategy is when you do tackle the problem right on there in an easier way too, but it makes it harder in the long run.
Oh, so wait. So maladaptive is you take easy route first and then later it becomes difficult. Adaptive is easy.
Easy,
Even
easy.
though
Yes.
when you're doing the adaptive one, it might look difficult at the first go.
Yes.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So, how do you think he demonstrates that?
Well, again, from the movie, we've seen that Mufasa never takes an easy road, does he now?
No.
That's just in his nature. He's lost his parents, he's gone through the flood, he's found people that are, well, considers them family because, we find them everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, but also, he realizes that, oh, there is no easy way. So even when he's using those adaptive strategies to cope with his grief, his survival, all of that, you realize that it is in his nature to take it head on. Uh, do you guys remember from Interstellar? Rage into the night, take it head on, dive right into it. That's exactly the kind of strategies he's using. He does not back down, he listens. For example, I was just listening to it where the outsider is like,
Come back.
sorry,
Go back to the question again.
adaptive. Fuck, where the fuck was I? Oh my god. Oh my god. Obasi. I don't know what Obasi means in,
Don't go there again.
but I want to go there
Just
though.
say like, I don't know what Obasi means, like the name Obasi means, but
Okay.
don't go like what language or whatever.
Sorry.
Got it?
So, for example, when Eshe and Mufasa are hunting,
Mm-hmm.
I have another point there, but I'm going to come back to it a little bit later. Um, when they're hunting, they realize that they're surrounded by the outsiders,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Oh my god, my ADHD brain just started singing that song. Like, I was just listening to it, where the outsider is like,
Come back. Go
sorry.
back to the question again.
Okay. Fuck. Do you guys remember when, like, adaptive. Fuck, where the fuck was that?
Do you want a break?
Oh, it's okay.
What is going on?
My head is starting to hurt, but okay, okay. Do you guys remember like that scene where Mufasa and Eshe are out for hunting?
Hmm.
You see that they are surrounded by the
Outsiders.
outsiders, and when they are surrounded by the outsiders, Eshe asks Mufasa to run, but because they're surrounded, they fight back. That is that scene that, okay, he takes up that adaptive coping strategies where he knows that yes, he can run away, but is running away going to solve this? No.
It would at the beginning, but then it would become harder, right? So that would be a maladaptive.
Yes.
Yes.
Point being, if we're seeing this from Mufasa's perspective, we also understand that he never ran away from it, right? He took it head on. He knew in the moment, like he let his instincts answer for him.
Mm-hmm.
And also there is that part where you know that deep inside of him somewhere he wants to seek Malele. And because he wants to seek Malele, he has that zest, he has that zeal, he has that thing in him where he just wants to go and go and go, because as you seek, so shall you find.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, adaptive coping strategies is my point. Question number 3.
So, do you think we can see moments of vulnerability, of Mufasa moments of vulnerability that shows that he's still healing throughout the movie?
He is healing throughout the movie because, like, one, you see it through his coping strategies, he takes it head on.
Mm-hmm.
2, he's at some point when you realize that, okay, Taka is going to be the king because, like, he's the child of a king or whatever. He realizes, not realizes, but you realize that Mufasa is like, yeah, this has nothing to do with me. It like, I'm not supposed to be the king, so he just stays away, kind of thing. You also see him not going to his full potential because there's that point that when Sarabi uh, recognizes who Mufasa is, he's trying to be, oh, no, what are you saying? It's not me, it's not me. And Taka sees that as betrayal because he's like, bro, that's my girl. Is she your girl?
Well, definitely, I think we can see those moments of vulnerability, and especially when he thinks of himself like, am I enough to lead, kind of thing, that idea. And
But those,
what do we call that in psychology though? Do you remember?
what?
This idea of like, you're doing it, your job, you're doing the thing, like you study for, or whatever it is the case, but you still have that feeling of like, am I good enough for this, like, am
Like,
I right for this?
lack of self-worth.
No, but more like the imposter syndrome. That's what I was alluding to.
Sorry, you are the one with high distinction, not me. So.
She's mocking me because I got high distinction when I graduated. Really?
You worked hard for it.
Well, I did. Of course I did.
I can mock you.
Oh. You did work hard for your graduation too, though.
Yeah, I worked very hard. I was
Yes.
working all the time and I was full-time student. I did 6.
Yeah. So that's why it was harder for you. I didn't go through like that. I was a full time student, but I wasn't taking 6 classes.
3 semesters one after another.
See? Yeah. That's why I admire you.
Thank you. I know. I do it all.
I know you do.
Okay.
Going back to the question.
Um. Sorry, ask your question again.
Okay, so thinking about brotherhood, jealousy, and attachment, right?
Wait. I gotta write this down because, like, that's a great train of thought. Yeah.
Brotherhood,
Yeah.
jealousy, and attachment. You remember Adler's birth order theory, right? So, because Taka's envy is the central tension there in the movie, how do you think that rivalry of siblings manifests in the story?
Okay. Well, before it even begins, we have to understand that it begins at the very first scene of Mufasa entering their pride, right? Because he's the stray, and you see that the Obasi is not very fond of him. One, two, you see Obasi plant that seed in Taka's head that, oh, he's gonna betray you one day.
Mm,
So again, that idea that no idea is original until somebody puts it inside of your head. Inception.
yes.
Um, it manifests itself throughout the movie. So the first part goes that dad plants it in his head that he's gonna get betrayed. And while it is not actively in his consciousness, it's somewhere in his subconscious. And because he hasn't addressed that with his father, again, we're not seeing this through a perspective of, yeah, they're gonna go through this and talk to their dad. No, it's a kid's movie. We're going in the nitty gritties of it. Point being,
Yes.
because that idea was never addressed, that, oh, what came to your head and why did you plant this inside my mind, inside Taka's mind,
Mm.
that subconscious part starts to manifest itself in terms of jealousy and everything, and you see that on the outside as well. Again, we talked about shadow self manifesting itself fully in Predestination 2, where in Taka's head, something wrong was done to him. There was nothing wrong done to him.
Well, you can also see that, like, when I mentioned at the beginning of the question about Adler's birth
Yeah,
theory, the
yeah,
order
yeah.
of it, Mufasa is older than Taka.
Yeah, and
He could be considered the firstborn, right? And then Taka see as a younger brother, see him like overshadows. Like he sees the shadow of his brother being the oldest one. Like the firstborn kind of thing.
funny
Idea.
thing, it's always said the firstborns have higher IQs than their younger siblings. So all of our younger siblings should be like, oh, thank you for taking up the load of being the intelligent ones. I'm just kidding.
But if you think about it, like how do what about you guys? Are you guys the firstborn, or are you guys the secondborn, or
Or a middle child.
the third one, or the fourth, or whatever is the birth order there? But we always have that idea that the firstborn comes with all the privileges of the house.
But they also come with more responsibility.
Yes, definitely, because the younger brothers are gonna look up to you, and if you fucked up, then it is what it is, right? Oh, just because I swear on camera, I'm sorry. But I thought we were having a laid back conversation where we don't need to.
Don't watch this with your kids. It's not PG-13.
That's why I put it on YouTube always, that it is not for the kids to watch. This is a conversation for adults. If we're talking about kids, then
Yeah, we're talking about kids' movies, but in perspective of an adult. Because, like,
yes,
when you're watching an animation movie, you're not watching it through a perspective of a child. You're watching it through your perspective, and your perspective as an adult is very different than your perspective of a child.
that's why.
One big lash out that was, wasn't it?
But that's why. In any case, it's
Too laid back of a conversation. I'm drawing stars on my notepad right now. Can you move on?
If you think about it,
Please
predestination.
Please don't bomb people's houses.
Okay, so talking about Taka's insecurity.
Can I get a pen though? I want doodle. Talking about.
Okay, talking about Taka's insecurity. How do you think his father's behavior contributed to him being insecure like that?
Well, first of all, we see that Obasi's character himself is very much a lazy king, right? So because he's that lazy king, he's also putting that in his son's mind that, oh, you don't have to work for it.
Yeah.
But why would again, that would only come from somebody who thinks that that he is privileged and everything, and that comes from that idea that I have more than you. Yeah. Nobody has more than anybody. We all begin from birth and we end at death. And then reincarnation. Or you become collective consciousness and become an ancestor. Point being.
Or you become a pig.
Pig?
Yeah. No?
Why would you become a pig?
I don't know.
Where is that coming from, Shakespeare?
Peppa Pig.
Holy. Sorry, what were we talking about?
This episode is so good. All right.
Okay. I have a question. So Rafiki, Sarabi, Zazu, Taka, and Mufasa, there are these 5 characters who are going to find Malele. Okay. Understand that Rafiki is the narrator as well. Okay. Yes. What do you think each 5 of them contribute to this journey that they're going towards finding Malele? Interesting. I don't think I have an answer for that. Why don't you answer that question? I will obviously be answering that. Yes.
But I would, okay, so like at first thought.
Yeah, first thought.
So we have Mufasa as a leader in the sense of strength.
Okay.
You can see Taka as the cunning part of the group.
You know, cunning is not always bad.
I know. That's why. I don't think Taka is that bad.
No, he's just looking out for himself.
Yeah. Like, we should always look out for ourselves first.
Help thy neighbor, though.
That too. But so we have that, and we have Rafiki. Rafiki is more kind of like that wise that comes in, you know?
Yeah.
That mystical part of things. That's you.
Are you calling me a baboon?
No, I'm calling you a mystic. That's what I'm calling you.
That's fair. I'll take that.
So we have that, and then we have, what's her name again?
Sarabi.
Sarabi. So Sarabi is the love conquers all kind of
Okay.
gal, but at the same time, she also has that strength in her, which you can see that when she kind of like is about to attack
They
them.
also had to balance out the five, so they had to put a female character in it. Sorry. Just calling everybody out there.
Well, but it needs to have a balance out, right? It needs
Yeah, so
to have that female
four it's to one
spirit.
female.
It needs to have that female spirit on it.
Yeah, I mean, one spirit is more than enough.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah. And then what was the other one?
Zazu.
Zazu.
The little bird.
The little bird.
Kevin.
Now, the little bird, the Zazu, is the one that is basically like, he is that one that it is afraid of things. So here's the thing. So think of this way. If you have Mufasa as being the leader, and then he acts with his heart and strength, you have Sorabi on the same path, and there, that's why they are so connected.
Fair.
Now, if you only act with strength and love, where is the part where you acting with your mind, you know, that you're thinking about the problem, that you're being wise? So that's Rafiki's job in there on the group. Zazu is the one that it is afraid of things, so he calls out when he thinks that we should pay attention more about this, on how to do that thing, or else we could eventually fuck it up. So that's where he comes in. And then Taka is the cunning one, in the sense of like, oh, we can do this, and in a cunning way that we can win.
Oh, because that's
we can play.
That idea also comes from that, right? Like,
Yes.
the signature of a wise king is through
Yes.
deception.
Yeah.
He did not teach him deception really well, I must just say.
Yeah. But then that's how I would see it. The group of
My
five.
answer is way better than this.
Well, then enlighten us, mystic.
She's just so full of herself right now. You just called her that on camera. What the heck? I'm not calling myself in third person. Anyways, so we see when and it's very much visible on the very part that all of them meet. Okay. So Rafiki comes in and he goes, I'm moving forward, right? I'm going forward towards the light. Anybody who's moving towards the light is the torchbearer.
Okay.
That's why he's wise. That's why because he dreams, he can, he sees that tree that nobody else can.
Who dreams is a wiser?
Always.
Shit, I don't dream for a long time, so I'm not that wise anymore.
No, you're not.
Okay, keep going, please.
Nah. You're intelligent.
That's not the same.
My bad.
Even ChatGPT is intelligent.
No, it's
but not wise.
Yeah, not everybody has. Well, you can have knowledge, you can have all the wisdom in the world, but you wouldn't know how to use the wisdom he's using a comfort toy right now, because I just called him not wise. I'm so sorry.
She's calling me dumb.
I did not say that. You said that
yourself. Can you believe this, my friend? No, me neither. Wow. Okay, keep going. There.
There. See, I knew he would need a comfort toy for this episode because even though Mufasa was your choice, I knew my perspective on Mufasa would be very different than yours.
Hmm. What was my choice? Mufasa movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And Lilo and Stitch? The last one?
That was also yours.
That was you.
That was me. Did we watch Lilo and Stitch because I wanted to watch Lilo and Stitch?
Yes.
Yeah, we did. Okay. Point being,
Hmm.
Rafiki is the torchbearer because again, the mystic part or whatever.
Yeah.
There comes Sarabi, which is how do you know? So there's that curiosity there, right? And without curiosity, you can never move forward. You can never follow the torch if you are not curious to know what the torch is seeing. Makes
Okay.
sense? There is Taka, which is you in that specific scene because they're hungry, they're hunting right now. You see Taka go, I need food. And he cannot function without without being full, right? So you see his hunger take over, and when that hunger is taking over, you're not really thinking. You A lot of the times when you're angry, you need to ask yourself, am I hungry or not? Like, did I eat a full meal? I always, like, any time that I haven't had food and I get these like immense amount of angry thoughts.
I know.
And I just ask people to shut up because I'm like, listen, whatever is going to come out of your mouth is going to make me angry because I haven't eaten food. I am acting out of anger, and I don't think acting out of anger would be a wise decision. So, Taka is that part that is hungry, right? So when you're acting from hunger, you're also acting from anger. And we've talked about how anger is a lower frequency of emotion. And when you're acting from anger, you try everything else to fulfill that need. And you see that later that he goes and he betrays the troop because he's angry with Mufasa, Sarabi choosing Mufasa because point being, there comes Mufasa, which is the belief, because he's the only one who believes the he's the only one who believes Rafiki. When Rafiki says, "Oh, I've seen Malele," and he's like, "Oh, you need to take us." Without belief, nothing's possible. That is why people resort to religion. That's why people resort to listening to other people, because that is that belief. That's why we listen to our elders, because it is our belief in them that they've done it, so can we. And then becomes Zazu, who's just divine comedy because he's just like, oh, now it's the five of us. Let's tell one thing about each one of us. And then he goes, yeah, I had a crush on a flamingo. It's funny. And yes, he's a little afraid, but then he's not acting out of fear. Because if he was acting out of fear, they would never reach to the point that their tracks were covered. Because again, fear does not exist.
Do you care to explain why fear doesn't exist?
What are you afraid of? The dark? Are you 3 years old? Never inherited. Fear does not come from within. Fear is that idea that was planted in your head.
Yeah.
So if you fear hell, what do you see? Fire? A 9-year-old told me that, so I believe it.
Yeah.
Do you have any follow ups for that? Anyways, how did you like my answer?
As always, better than mine.
Always! Sorry. But that also, when we jump back into the scene where Rafiki is talking to Kiara
Mm.
about the story, Timon and Pumbaa are like, "Oh, this is not our story. Like, we're not even like mentioned in this, la di da di da, right?"
Yeah.
And Rafiki is like, "Well, there is no story of Mufasa without Rafiki." That literally translates to there is no story of belief without the light.
Agreed.
So all we need is belief within yourself, outside, with your elders, with people, anything. Belief, belief, belief.
So I'm thinking of Mufasa's leadership style,
Mm-hmm.
and you think of Taka's leadership style.
They're very different.
They're very different. How do you think, like, what kind of. Because for me, for example, I see that Mufasa's leadership style is of that of empowerment, right? For the people that follows him.
Mm.
He
Yeah, he
trusts, he builds that
he
trust.
puts that fragment of strength in everybody that he comes
Yes.
along. Yeah.
Yeah, like nurturing autonomy for the followers.
Yeah.
Taka's is basically like he entices fear to his followers.
So very
So
dictatorship
yes,
like.
an authoritarian leadership style
Yeah.
kind of
That's
thing,
that's
right?
the basic difference between democracy and dictatorship.
Yeah. Cut. I'm being a monkey. Cut again. uh,
Ah! Sorry.
yeah, no. So he's basically he manipulates others. Taka.
Yeah.
He uses fear and in his style, so he doesn't get the respect of his followers.
Yeah, you're never
Leading by fear is
leading by fear is never gonna get you the respect. Like, what the
yeah.
heck?
Do you think that Mufasa's life was destined, or did he choose his path?
Destiny.
Yeah.
Like, he kept choosing to go head on, and that's what became his destiny, is what I'm saying.
Hmm. I feel like it's a balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he believes in having the destiny to get to Malele, but to get to there,
He had to have that belief.
he has his own autonomy to get to there. Like
Obviously, if he did
yeah,
not have this autonomy on himself, he wouldn't see that autonomy in everybody else, would he?
yeah. So
You cannot see in others what you don't have within yourself.
that is true. It's why we see others people's like some pet peeves that you can see in other people that you don't like it,
Yeah,
and
because that is a
that is some
reflection of
is you
you.
mirroring people's.
Always, always, always.
Yeah. So, question for you guys: what do you think? Are we the authors of our story, or are we living a script that was written for us? What do you think? I know you think that we're living a script that was written already for us, right?
It's easier, isn't it, to
To
surrender
think to think about that.
to think about that, because that way you understand that at the end of the day, there's always going to be a bigger plan.
Hmm. A bigger plan?
Isn't there a bigger plan?
You always believe that someone else made a plan for you?
No. Well, when I mean someone else, I don't mean someone else
Like a higher being? Yes, that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Like you believe in the idea of God. We come back to that question again.
Yes, I
Where I
believe
don't,
in the idea of
yes,
God.
where I don't believe in that idea. I don't think that there is a being out there that is actually, you gotta do this way so you can get to. No. Sorry, guys. But that's not me.
I'm not saying that's you. You're
I
open to
know. I
have
know.
your own belief.
Yeah.
I'm just
No,
saying.
it's my opinion. It's not my belief. I don't believe.
So you have no belief whatsoever. You
And
don't even believe in your own self.
no, I know my own self. That's the thing. You only believe in something that you don't know.
Cha-ching! See, I took
Okay.
it out of you.
Yeah, I feel like
um, so now that you know yourself,
hmm,
right? You also understand that the idea of Milele, that belief of Mufasa, is not a belief, but that he knows Milele exists. And he's just following the light.
okay.
That's why the story even came to be, because Mufasa knows that Milele exists, because his parents told him that Milele exists. And he believed his mother that Milele exists, and then in Milele he finds his mother.
Okay.
Where is your Milele? Where is your sweet heaven?
Safe heaven.
Safe heaven, sweet heaven.
See that the life of Mufasa can teach us that it doesn't matter where we come from, is what we
make out of it.
And like he did, he came out of nothing and he became king. What do you think were the teachings of Mufasa's life for yourself?
Comment down below. Oh my god, I was so lost in my own head right now. That would be the end of our episode. I am Rabri.
And I am Bruno. And
like, share, subscribe, comment down below which all movies you want us to do again.
Fuck, she never lets me finish this shit.